tell the world who you are and what you do.
My name is Sapp. I'm also known as Throwback Kennels. I'm a good old Carolina boy from South Carolina, so I feel like it's important to represent that. And I raise, breed, and work American Pit Bull Terriers because that's what I like to do, and that's my biggest passion.
What got you into dogs in the first place, and why did you pick the Pit Bull?
Let's see. As a child, as far back as I can remember, 5, 6 years old, I was always fascinated with dogs. Didn't matter what kind. I always connected with dogs. Dogs always liked me. Dogs were nicer to me than people were, so I kind of had this natural gravitational pull towards canines. Well, we had family dogs and stuff like that. I had a Dalmatian, some mutts, and real good dogs, But one day, I had never even seen a pit bull, never heard of it. Matter of fact, the only one I had ever seen was from the Little Rascals, but I didn't even know what that was. At this point in time in my life, I'm 14 years old. I didn't even know what a pit bull was. Well, I moved out to the country. I changed school districts, went to a new school, and I met some boys that lived on my street and the next street up. Got invited to go play basketball one day. So, I went up there and hung out with the dudes to go play basketball. Well, one of them had a bulldog, and it was a yellow John dog, which I knew nothing about. It was beautiful, man. Yellow buckskin, dark pink, red nose, beautiful dog. And I asked the guy, when I got up there, I completely lost interest in basketball. I got up there and I was like, can I pet your dog? And he said, oh yeah, man, these dogs aren't aggressive towards people. So I'm petting this dog and loving on this, licking me in the face and all this. And he said, do you know what kind of dog that is? And I said, nah, man, to be honest with you, I don't. I've never seen one like this. And he said, it's a pit bull. And I just said, oh, okay, I didn't think anything about it. So, I'm sitting here loving on this dog, and he said, watch this. He picks up this big stick, and he goes, and the dog grabbed the stick and is tugging on it. I got to see this, fight drive, tug drive, and it broke this big stick. And, I'm 14 years old, so I'm like, dude, this is cool as shit,
Mm-hmm.
Well, so, we ended up playing basketball, and then the dog got fired up. Now I know it's spray drive, but back then I didn't know anything. And the dog got fired up, spray drive, and I'm not even joking, dude. It literally was tethered to a tree, and it could reach other trees. There was a 3-inch pine tree in diameter. This dog literally just grabbed this thing and gnawed on it, chewed on it, and broke it in half. And I'm talking about a short amount of time, just long enough to play a game of 21. We're all country boys out here. We were literally playing basketball on the dirt, And I seen this dog, man, and I immediately just felt a kindred spirit to it. I was so impressed. It was just the most amazing dog I'd ever seen. It was a beautiful, man. Its head structure, its whole physique, its its kindness, but it also had that grit to it. And I literally fell in love. So the guy that introduced me to the dogs, I won't say his name or anything, but he said, would you want her? And I said, man, I wish. And he said, you can take her right now if you want her. And I was like, dude, my folks told me I can't have a dog, man, until our other one dies. Well, long story short, about a year went by, that happened, and, our house dog died, and he had a litter, and he gave me a pup.
Mm.
And, dude, it was on from there. I had no clue what these dogs were. I had no clue what I was getting into, and this guy blessed me, man. He had a real Jeep Red Boy dogs. I'm talking about you walked on this guy's yard, dude, and it was every dog was a clone of Jeep or a clone of Yellow John. And I remember, man, when I got the dog from him, he tried to give me the papers, and I was like, man, I don't need no papers. I just want the dog, 14 years old, 15 years old. And he kind of looked at me like I was crazy, and he told me the papers kind of matter. And all that good stuff. But, dude, I was so fascinated with the dogs. And I didn't even realize at the time, dude, I didn't even realize what I had my hands on, man. I had no clue. My first dog was a real deal, straight game dog, working dog, really refined family of dogs. A dog that a lot of people breed their whole life and try to get. I just stumbled upon it and got gifted one.
That's awesome.
Yep, and dude, that literally changed my life, man. Ever since then, dude, I have been a diehard pit bull terrier person, and I think part of the reason that I fell in love with them so much, outside of the obvious reasons and the few things I've already said, was I never had a stereotypical image of these dogs. Like, I had never heard of these dogs. I had never heard anybody say anything bad. Like, I literally, at 14 years old, had never even heard the word pit bull. So it's like, that was kind of a good thing for me, because I went into it with like a fresh mind, a fresh slate, with no negative anything, you know. So like, to the day I die, dude, I will advocate for these dogs. Like, you're not going to find a more noble, kind creature, but at the same time, you're not going to find something that's more of a warrior. And I just think that like velvet and steel kind of concept, I just think that's amazing in a dog.
What to you is an American Pit Bull Terrier?
All right, well, so might get a little bit of controversy for this. As far as like my personal opinion, like what is a Pit Bull Terrier? A Pit Bull Terrier is a dog that comes down from the original Bull and Terrier cross, you know, like the original Colby dogs, the original Tudor dogs, you know, the Feely dogs, you know, the list goes on. All those guys that in the turn of the century came over here and were breeding the bulldogs, you know, like anything down from that, you know, that's what I would say is the original Pit Bull Terrier, just from the original stock, you know.
With that being said, would you call the UKC show type a pit bull still? And also, would you call the AKC Amstaff a pit bull still?
So, like, if you want to talk, like, generally speaking, like, talking to the general public who's not educated, I would just loosely say they're all pit bull or pit bull type dogs. But if anybody was interested in the difference, I would pretty much just tell them that the game bred American Pit Bull Terrier is the original dog that has been performance bred from start to present. I would tell them that the Amstaff is a pit bull. It's just a pit bull that's been bred for show and companionship. Does that make sense? So I pretty much would describe it to someone who doesn't know about the dogs. I would pretty much just say one's the original working stock that never strayed away, and then the other one has just been bred to be pretty, you know.
Gotcha.
Because, like, I can talk about this because I own an American Staffordshire Terrier. You know, I have an American Staffordshire Terrier laying on my couch right now. You know, an AKC dog. I don't have her papers. She is a paperable dog. The guy just chipped me on the papers. But that's another story. But, like, I literally have a staff, you know, and then I have game dogs. But then I also have dogs that are show dog lines and game dogs crossed, you know. So, like, my Red Boy Jocko stuff I got from Throwback Kennels, and shout out to him because his dogs they're nice, man. But then I got a dog like Kaiser, for example. You're familiar with Kaiser and his structure and his head piece and all that, aren't you?
That is my favorite dog of yours, that's for sure.
All right, I'm with you there, brother. So this is the thing, man. This is a prime example of what you're asking me. So Commando and Cajun Baby, you know, straight Red Boy Jocko dogs, very intense. They strictly work in heritage. You know what I mean? They're the kind of dogs that's like they're really great working dogs themselves, but they're really hard to handle. You know, and they're just buck wild, and they're very driven just towards one particular behavior. You know, whereas like you got a dog like Kaiser. Man, he's that kind of dog, and they have a little bit of that show UKC kind of dog in them, like way back. So that's why that dog's so pretty. But I'm gonna tell you right now, Kaiser, man, way smarter, way prettier, has just as much, if not more, drive and determination, and he is an athletic specimen, man. Like he's got good balance. So like, I personally don't really think there's a difference, other than the fact that the way they might breed the dog to look. But I've got a dog like Kaiser that fits the UKC standard perfect visually, but dude, he is a working bulldog through and through, you know. And then I got the other two, you know, the Red Boy Jocko dogs and a Jeep dog. They're kind of houndy looking. They're ADBA dogs, you know, they're registered with ADBA, and they're just like all gas, no brakes, real rough around the edges. They're the kind of dogs where like you go work them and put them up. You know what I mean? Like they're capable of being in the house and stuff like that, but like those are like really high intense, like working dog only. Whereas like you got the dog like Kaiser that's a bunch of ADVA stuff with a touch of that UKC stuff way in the back. That just, man, you get a completely different dog. You get a dog that has an on switch and an off switch, and that's personally what I like. I don't want a dog that's nuts. I don't want a dog that doesn't shut up. You know. Mm-hmm. So like, if you ask me personally, my Mason dogs, bar none, is my favorite. They're beautiful. They're intelligent. They got all that drive and everything you want in one, but they have a real on-off switch, and they're quiet. My Mason dogs are quiet. They don't make a noise if it's not important. You know, like, it's one of those things where I got Kaiser out front. He's in my front yard in a 10x10 park right beside my truck. And there's 4 people at my house on the regular. It's me, my roommate that lives with me, and our 2 girlfriends come over all the time. Well, they can come over at 3 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter when. They won't bark if it's them. But if it's the mailman coming down at any time of the day or a stranger, oh man, all hell's breaking loose. You know, so like, I like a dog that's smart enough to understand that, like, this person comes here so much that I'm used to them. I'm not even gonna bark at them. That person's supposed to be here. Mm-hmm. You know, and like, that's an intelligence that the Mason dogs have that's just been really impressive to me. They know right from wrong. They know friend from foe. You know, they know show from go. It's just amazing, dude. Like my Mason dogs, or my free Mason dogs I got from Dakota, and the ones I'm breeding on, they are just the most, like, moldable dog that I have ever seen in my life. Like, and I'm talking about any breed. Mm-hmm. And see, I can say that unbiasedly because these aren't from my families of dogs. You know, I got them from my friend. You know what I mean? So like, and I got stuff from other people as well. So like, I'm really unbiased. So when I say that I like my free Mason dogs better, and I have a list as long as my leg, there's a reason that I like those dogs better. And there's a reason that I advocate for those dogs, and there's a reason that I promote myself and my image with those dogs, you know?
Mm-hmm. So the temperament and trainability as well, would you say that's bar none for the Freemason dogs?
Bar none, dude. I'm telling you right now, dude, you can take a Freemason dog, put them on whatever you want, you know, you can put them on a pig, you can put them on a coon, you can put them on a spring pole, anything that gets them fired up, right? Mm-hmm. Anything. And dude, they will out. You can tell them out, they will out, and you can literally come straight off of working and into an obedience session with them. Like, I can put Kaiser on the wall climb, you know, I can put him on the spring pole, I can tug with him, anything, and I tell that dog out, he lets go, and then you can tell him he'll heel, and he'll work with you, and like, he wants to please you, mm-hmm. you know, and like, so his drive is through the roof. But what impresses me about him is even when he's like, fired up, he still has enough sense to where he can shut that off and he can control it. He never goes to that point where he's like tunnel vision. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I've got a particular dog that I love him to death, but he gets tunnel vision, and he's a man's dog. He's not for the faint of heart, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, I love that dog, but I won't be breeding on that dog. That dog, he's too wild, you know? In the wrong hands, that could be a liability, you know?
Right. So you believe wholeheartedly that Kaiser, for example, would hit a man?
Yeah, I do. He is not friendly to strangers in certain scenarios. Like, if he's in his kennel, if he's on the chain, no stranger is taking him off that chain or out of that kennel. If he's in my truck, in my dog box, or in my house at the front door, he is not nice to strangers. But the thing about it is, I take him to the vet. My vet will tell you that's the most friendly dog, the most athletic specimen, the easiest dog he's ever dealt with, right? I take him to my girlfriend's house. I take him to Tractor Supply, to Lowe's, you know, anywhere out in public. He's polite, he's patient, he's really obedient, you know, but he has a whole other side to him where, like, he's a working machine, you know, and then he has a whole other side to him where he's like an old school dog from the 90s and 80s. Like, he'll hold it down. Like, ain't nobody stealing shit out your truck when he's in your truck. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And he's made it very clear. He's made it very clear that he knows when to fire up and when not to. And I've never put him on a man, and I've never put him on a sleeve, so I can't say for sure. But I believe he would.
Mm. What is the general weight? Like, for example, what does Kaiser weigh?
Kaiser chilling just like on a normal day and not really doing nothing crazy with him, just feeding him and loving on him, taking care of him. He's about 48 pounds. When I put him in shape, he'd go down about 44 and a half pounds.
Okay. Now, you're in Greenville, right?
I'm close, so I'm not like in Greenville, but that's the closest like big city near me. So like if someone not from here asks me where am I from, I'll just tell them Greenville because everybody knows where that's at, you know. But I'm about 30 minutes from Greenville.
Gotcha.
I'm literally like where Greenville County, the eastern part of Greenville County lives. I live on the county line of Greenville County and the next county over. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it gets a bit colder there than it gets here in Myrtle Beach. That's for sure.
Yeah, the past couple of nights here, it's been getting down to like 28 and 25 the past 2 or 3 nights.
So how are your dog's heat and cold tolerance?
Every dog I own, my ADBA stuff and then all my Freemason stuff, every dog handles the heat with no issue. Every dog handles the cold with no issue. They've got 55-gallon blue drum barrels. I keep fresh straw, you know, hat from top to bottom damn near. I change it every week, or I change it every time it rains. You know, like if it rains, if I change it and 3 days later it rains, I'll change it on that 4th day. But every dog I have handles the cold no problem. I mean, in the wintertime, I up the feed. Like, I feed, like if I'm feeding a dog 3 cups during the summer, like 3 cups a day, and he's looking good on that, when the wintertime rolls around, I'm feeding him 5 cups once a day.
I
So,
gotcha.
like, my dogs in the wintertime, they're kind of fat in the winter, but I can sleep at night knowing that my dogs are warm.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Absolutely, ain't nothing wrong with that. Now, how would you compare the temperament and the trainability and whatnot between a male and a female?
With the Mason dogs, it's the same. Every dog, I want to say Dakota has like 40-something offspring, you know, off of Mason entirely. And every single dog that I have seen with my own eyes, put my own hands on, which is probably about half of them, doesn't matter. Every male is super smart. Every female is super smart. They all have the same tendencies. Like a Mason dog. So a Mason dog is going to be really smart. A Mason dog is going to have perfect teeth. A Mason dog is going to have good bone. A Mason dog is going to have a lot of drive and display that real gaminess fire. The majority of them have an on and off switch. You're not going to notice really anything different between a male and a female in the Mason dogs. He throws real consistent dogs and real consistent traits. So, like, I personally would say that, I mean, the males and females it's an equal thing.
And how close do you breed?
How close? All right, so originally Dakota bred to 3 different bitches, right? He bred to one of the dogs was his niece. One of the dogs was a complete outcross, and the other dog was a complete outcross. So the dog that he bred that was his niece was Kaiser's mom. And then one of the dogs that he bred that was an outcross was a triple bred bitch off of his dad's stuff, that Thor and Dixie stuff, that Termite Midnight Cowboy. And that's what I have. Mm-hmm. So he bred to a triple bred bitch, gave me a daughter off of that, and I bred her to Kaiser, which is her half brother.
Okay.
So that's where I'm starting. So Dakota recently made an inbreeding. He took a female off of that breeding and bred Mason back to his daughter. And that's where my dog Major comes from, his dog Levi. And then so like when I bred Kaiser to Harley, that's half brother, half sister. That's same dad, different moms. But her mom shares a small coefficient of relations with that like Thor and Dixie termite stuff, the Termite Midnight Cowboy. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if that was confusing. So like basically like when I made this was a true line breeding. they have the same dad and they have different moms, but it was like her great grandparents are related to Harley. So like we made a true line breeding. And I don't know if you've noticed that like my dogs are predominantly black and all Dakotas are predominantly red brindle, red and white patched. And the reason for that is he's capturing all the traits that are just like Mason. He's trying to recreate Mason as much as he can so he can have a replacement for him when he's retired. Well, when he bred Mason to that triple bred female down off his dad's stuff, that sparked and that just like brought his dad's stuff back too, while still keeping the attributes of the Mason dogs that we really, really, really like. So it's basically like my program, I'm capturing some different genetics and I'm concentrating those and refining those. And then he's doing that in a different spectrum. So that way, like, we'll be able to cross our stuff back up and it's not really an out, but it'll be enough of an out because the traits will be a little bit different. Like, you know, a little bit different colors and, you know, a little bit different, you know, small things.
Right.
So basically it's hard to explain. Like he's breeding Mason and trying to really, really preserve what Mason is. And then since we were able to kind of revive his dad's line of dogs, I really like those dogs and some of the traits that comes along with those dogs. So I'm refining those. So like we're breeding the free Mason dogs, and yes, in the big scheme of things, we're breeding the same family of dogs. But at the same time, I'm kind of leaning one direction and refining this way, and he's kind of leaning this other direction and refining that way. That way, you know, I kind of have my stamp, and he kind of has his stamp, and then we'll be able to cross them back up down the road with no issues.
Right, that makes sense. When you have a litter in front of you, how do you select what you're keeping?
That's kind of a funny question because I literally just kept 4 out of 7. So this is how I looked at it, right? So based off of what I just said, I would never pick off of color, like generally speaking. However, in our family of dogs, we've noticed that like with this color spectrum comes these traits. With this color spectrum comes these traits. And then across the board, they all have these other traits, right? So, for example, like when I just had this litter, I kept 4 and I gave 3 to Dakota, right? Well, the 3 that I gave to Dakota, I gave him 2 red ones and I gave him 1 of the black ones, right? Well, so like the red dogs I've noticed, and he has 2, the red dogs seem to turn on a little bit earlier. You know, that fire kind of comes out a little bit quicker, whereas like the black genetic we got, the one I'm rocking with, they fire up just a little bit later, like just a few months later. You know, like we're looking at like mine start really firing up at about 10 months old. His start firing up at about 6, right? So we've noticed that like within this spectrum, you kind of get a little bit of this. With this spectrum, you get a little bit of that. So basically like I can tell you right now, and like if you get a dog from me, you know, my dog might turn on more about 10 months old, you know, maybe 11 or 12 months old, where his is probably going to turn on, but you know, closer to like 6 months old, 8 months old. So like there's that difference, you know. So when I had this litter, already knowing that, like we already knew that before I even made this breeding, you know. So like. And these puppies are way better than I thought they were going to be. Not saying I was doubting them, but like I got like everything I was looking for plus some. So like when I started looking at these dogs, I was like watching their behavior, and then like I noticed that like, okay, we're right. These like this color spectrum kind of carries these traits, and this color spectrum kind of carries these traits.
I wonder if there's something to that.
I'll tell you right now, the puppies of this litter I just had, both the parents are fiery, right? But these puppies are seeming, even the black ones, are seeming to turn on and be more fiery than even the parents, like at a quicker age. And that's what I was looking for. I was trying to ramp that up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I've also noticed. I've also noticed with the dogs, they're essentially Bolio G termite midnight cowboy is what we started out with. That was the cross, and then we just been blending up and tightening up on it. So I've noticed that like the dogs that carry more of that like Eli, Midnight Cowboy, kind of like phenotype, those are like real like forward and like they're real like confident, super tough. Whereas I've noticed the dogs that have the bolio physique, you know, that real light bone, long legged, fast. Those ones are like extra smart, but they have a defensive mindset. And the ones that are carrying that bolio phenotype as puppies will be a little more defensive than the ones that are, you know, red, or the other black dogs that are like, you know, more like stocky structured and Eli dog structured in a way. So like I've noticed that the ones that are heavy on the bolio traits have a defensiveness, but it's something that they grow out of. Like if you're walking, like some of them, like for example, I'm gonna use Kaiser because he's my favorite dog and he is the most forward, confident dog that I've ever owned. But when he was a puppy, you know, 3, 4, 5 months old, if I walked him down the road and the neighbor's dog up the road hit the fence and, you know, snarled and barked at him, he wasn't scared, but he was his first instinct was like, whoa, like he's aware of his surroundings, you know, he's aware of like he's a little pup. Whereas like now he's full grown and dude, that son of a gun, man, he wishes somebody would, you know. So like it's one of those things where like I'm gonna tell people when you get these dogs from us, like what they're like when they're 3 months old, 4 months old, 6 months old, that's irrelevant. What really matters is let this Mason dog that you get from me, let it hit 2 years old. That dog will be everything you're looking for, you know. And I'm not saying that like they're all super defensive. No, a lot of them are very forward. A lot of them are like overly forward. But I have noticed in my specific strand of dogs, the black ones, I do get a little more of that defensive mindset when they're puppies, but they grow out of it. Like they'll be very forward, and to me, that's just intelligence. Like that's a young dog, like a 3-month-old puppy, knowing that like, oh shit, like I'm too small for that. Like to me, if you have a 3-month-old puppy and it's trying to go get into shit it ain't got no business getting into, like that's dumb. That's gonna be a short-lived animal in his life, you know. So like Kaiser, dude, not scared of anything, bro. Like he's super friendly, but he loves confrontation. And the thing about it is like now that he's grown and he's super forward, you never would have known at 3 months old that he had a very defensive mind. It wasn't cur, not skittish, none of that. He was just very aware of everything going on, and you could just see the gears turning in his head, you know. And like, so like I would tell somebody, like, if you get a dog from me, don't be too hard on it. Let a puppy be a puppy, you know. Like, don't be trying to teach him to bite people, or don't be trying to teach him to be aggressive when he's too young. Just like literally let the puppy be a puppy and let him mature. And then once he matures, he's a different animal, you know. And I have actually really, really, really grown to like a dog like that, because my first dog was the exact opposite. Man, he was a damn 8-week-old puppy and couldn't even be around another puppy. He was so aggressive, you know, and that caused me a lot of problems. So like now like the dogs, these Mason dogs that I have, dude, they are real deal, and they are cutthroat dogs, but they're so smart and moldable that you can literally mold this dog's mind and condition his mind to, you know, to put up with certain things. Like I can take Kaiser right now and bring him in the house, and he's cool with my 2 house dogs. Like I ain't got to worry about nothing. You know what I mean? Just don't put nothing formidable in front of him. You know?
Right.
Like if you take him around a puppy, dude, he's nice to it. You take him around a female dog, he's nice to it. Just don't bring your other alpha dog in front of him, and he'll be fine. You know? I'm telling you, man. Like anytime you hear me talk about a Mason dog, you're going to hear the words intelligence come out of my mouth until it probably annoys you. You know what I mean? And like, I'll be honest with you, that's my favorite trait. Like, yes, these dogs display gameness and grit, and they're real tough and good bone and good teeth. They have all these great attributes, right? And but my absolute favorite thing about these dogs is how smart they are, man. They're so easy to live with. They're quiet. And like, dude, like if you want to go put them on a treadmill, they'll run the hell out of it. You want to put them on a wall climb, dude, they'll run up the wall. You want to go put them on a little small game hunt, they'll do it. And they'll do it with, you know, poise. But their intelligence, man, like Mason literally throws some of the smartest dogs I have ever seen. And I'm talking about of all breeds. Like, and that's what I really started liking Dakota's dogs is I knew they were beautiful and they were fiery and they, all that good pit bull stuff. But dude, when I really got to be around Dakota and his dogs, and then when he gave me my first two dogs off of Mason, which was Kaiser and Mary Jane, I was just like, dude, this guy's dogs are on a whole nother level. Like a whole nother level. Like, these dogs are smart as a whip, and they're bulldogs, first and foremost.
When you decide to select, you said you picked 4 out of this litter. What is your next steps with those 4 puppies? Like, how do you test these animals?
So my game plan is to literally just see who's who and what's what, right? So I bred Kaiser to Harley, I had expectations out of it, but I don't know what I'm gonna get until I got it, right? So I was looking for 2 females. That's it. And I was looking for 2 females that were really fiery. Like, I wanted that real gamey, real, aggressive puppy, tugging real hard, just kind of like a little puppy, like a real intense little puppy. Well, I got those 2, right? Well, the reason I kept the 2 males was because the buckskin male, dude, his structure and everything, man, his color and all that's great. He's beautiful, but he's really smart, and he's got that fiery attitude as well. And so I seen him, and he just kind of stood out to me, and something told me nah, you need to hold on to him. Okay, well, so then I have the other little black male. His name is Django. Well, dude, he's a clone of his daddy in every way, and he is a fiery little pup, dude. And he's really smart, and he looks at me in a way that no other dog has ever looked at me. So I'm like, damn, man, dude, these 2 males are showing me traits that, bro, I need to keep these dogs. I got the time, the space, the money. I need to keep them. So basically my initial pick was based off I need 2 females that with attitude. Well, I got that. Then I got 2 male pups with attitude, but then they also have all these other attributes that just really stand out to me. Mm-hmm. So my plan is to keep them because that's what my instincts tell me, and to see who's who, see what's what. And I have a half sister of theirs. I have another half brother of theirs, and then Dakota has several half siblings. So I really like Kaiser and Harley, and I'm keeping 2 males and 2 females because that's my foundation stock. I use Kaiser and Harley to make my foundation stock. So I took my 2 favorite dogs with all the attributes that I like the most that were half siblings and bred them to get what I have now. So these 2, I'm gonna breed on these 2 males and these 2 females. I'm gonna breed them to all their half siblings that I have and Dakota had. But the reason I kept 4 of them is that way I can really concentrate that specific strand, that specific breeding. That's what I like. I like those 2 dogs, and I like what they've given me so far. So I'm keeping 2 males and 2 females, so I can have the genetic either way, male or female. And then I got 2 females and 2 males. And see, this is the thing: the 2 females, they act the same, but one has a bolio phenotype. The other one has more of a midnight cowboy phenotype, a shorter, stocky, thicker. So I got 2 different females with 2 different phenotypes, which matters in the big scheme of things of breeding, Mm-hmm. And then I've got 2 different males that act the same, but they have completely different structures. Wrangler is large, and he's got a huge head and real thick bone. He's heavy, where Django is real square, but he's built like a bolio dog, and he's real athletic. So it's I got a stocky male with attitude. I got an athletic male with attitude. I got a stocky female with attitude. I got an athletic female with attitude. So keeping those 4, I'll always have exactly what I want because I have plenty of half siblings to breed them to. Mm-hmm. And then even if I bred them to an outcross, they're 2 times Mason. So they're line bred. So their traits are concentrated. So they should throw pretty well.
What colors are the 2 females?
One is black as night. She's black with a little bit of white on her chest and toes. And then the other female is the exact color of the mom. She's that black, chocolate kind of, that black brown kind of seal color. Mm-hmm. And like when I say seal, I don't mean blue. These dogs are nothing's blue about anything in my yard. But like the mom is technically what you would call seal. She's like a black, kind of like chocolate dog. Like in the wintertime, she's real black. In the summertime, she looks like a red dog. You know.
Gotcha. And do you plan on taking one of those daughters back to Kaiser?
Yeah. So the daughter that is the most like the mom, I'll probably take back to Kaiser, you know, with all things being, you know, good when she's older. Mm-hmm. And then the other female, I'm gonna breed to one of her half brothers, whether it's on my yard or Dakota's, but I'll probably breed her to one of her half brothers that I have that's on my yard. Hey, I do wanna say this, and I do wanna put this out there. I want to tell anybody that has hit me up on Facebook showing any interest in my dogs, you know, trying to buy them or ask me questions or even just to compliment them. I really appreciate that. And I turned a lot of people down because I wasn't interested in selling the dog, but I do want to let it be known. The reason I didn't want to sell anybody anything off this litter was because I was making a breeding to create my foundation stock. And now I have enough of a stock to where like I can share the dogs. I can breed the dogs, you know, mm-hmm. and like I can make that breed again if I need to. So like I had a lot of people reach out to me respectfully asking me all kinds of things about the dogs, and I was very respectful back. But I just want it to be known that like I really, really appreciate people showing me love and showing interest in my dogs, because that means the world to me, man.
Absolutely. No, I understand that, brother. Now, how many do you got on your yard total?
Let's see, total, I've got 14 dogs here total, and 2 of them are the house dog. So I've got 12 dogs on the yard.
Gotcha. What are you feeding these guys?
I was literally just about to say, let's talk about feed.
Yeah.
So when it comes to feeding, my family, you know, some of my close friends, they always say, man, it must cost you a fortune to feed these dogs. No, it really doesn't. I run through a 50-pound bag a week, and right now I'm feeding Pride. And that is a food that I started out with when I was 14 years old. I fed everything under the sun after that, and now I'm feeding Pride again. You know, just you don't fix things that aren't broke.
Right.
So I buy the black bag of Pride. It's a 24-20. It's called the endurance bag. I feed that during the winter, and I feed that if I'm working the dog. But during the summertime, I'll feed the red bag. It's a 21-10, and it's a maintenance. The dogs just don't need all that extra fat if they're not being conditioned, and they don't need all that extra fat if it's 95 degrees outside.
Right. But, so you said you feed endurance in the winter?
Come again?
I said you said you feed the endurance formula in the winter and the maintenance in the summer?
Yep, I feed the maintenance in the summer, and I feed the endurance in the winter, but then I also feed the endurance if I'm gonna work one out for some particular reason.
Right. Gotcha.
And I kind of want to talk about this too. People hate on corn-based dog food. Well, I'm kind of a hater on premium high-dollar dog food, and I'm kind of a hater on a grain-free dog food. I think grain-free dog food was the dumbest thing that ever happened to the dog food industry. Because what people don't realize is dogs do need grains. Dogs just usually get grains as a secondary byproduct of eating a small prey animal, like a rabbit. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's like what tripe is basically. So another thing too about corn-based dog food and corn in general that people say a lot to me, and I've heard throughout the years, people say corn is a filler. Corn has no nutritional value. It's not true at all. Corn has some vitamins and stuff in it, but corn is actually really high in micronutrients. And I've noticed that a lot of these dogs that are eating this fancy food and grain-free foods that got all these skin allergies, I'm just like, well, it doesn't have corn in it, which is a really good source of micronutrients. So maybe your dog's just not getting everything it needs, you know? Maybe, because I made a direct correlation of never seen or heard of allergies in a dog, ever. And then grain-free became a thing, you know? And then, now all of a sudden, all these dogs have allergies. Like that doesn't add up to me. Like, you know, and with firsthand experience, I feed a corn-based food, and nothing has given me the consistent results that Pride has given me. And it's a corn-based food, you know. But also, when you read the bag, one of the main things in the bag, it says it has chelated minerals. Okay, so they've taken an extra step to make sure that the minerals are in a soluble form for the animal to take up. You know what I mean? So like a lot of companies, they advertise with high protein, and dude, that just makes me sick, because a lot of people out here are having issues with their dog, with their skin, because their food has too much high protein. They're having kidney problems with their dogs because it has too much protein. Hell, they're literally cutting their dog's life shorter by feeding them too much protein. Protein repairs muscles. That's what it's for. You know, a dog uses fat to burn energy. So when a dog's running a treadmill, working a screen pole, catching a hog, treeing a squirrel, treeing a coon, whatever dog is doing, whatever job, is putting itself through some sort of stamina and endurance, fat is what matters. That's where the dog gets its energy from. The protein comes in to the picture when, like, okay, you've worked your dog, you've got those good muscle fiber tears, and the protein literally helps rebuild the dog's muscle and grow the muscle. So, like, when people are feeding dogs that are just chilling in the house, dogs that are just chilling in the kennel or on the chain, a bunch of protein, you're literally just like over toxifying the dog's kidneys. And then once you start doing that, I mean, you're going to see a chain of effects. You know, I don't care how well bred, how healthy the dog is, or how healthy the person is. I mean, if you or I took in too much protein, that would be an issue. You know, and like, people see protein and they think the higher number, the better. And I'm just over here like, whoa, that's not exactly true. I like to stay between a 21 and a 24% protein. Once you start to get to 30% protein, 31% protein, that's really hard. That's really hard on a dog's kidney. And like, I'm telling you right now, I have fed food like that. Like, I know that from firsthand experience. I fed high protein food for a while. Like, when I was younger, I tried it. Dude, my dogs, every dog I tried, they would have the nastiest yellow gold shits. Their piss would be yellow and stink. And like, they would get to the point where like, they act like their stomach hurt and they wouldn't want to eat, you know? So like, I've been through the gamut with dog food, and I'm going to put my personal opinion out there is, you don't want to get no cheap bull crap, but you don't want to get the top of the line marketed most expensive food either. You want to find somewhere in that middle ground. You want to find like Pride, Diamond, you know, there's a food down here that's pretty good called Joy that a lot of the old school guys that, you know, were in bulldogs used to feed, and a lot of guys in coon dogs still. But I'm over here just, you know, I'm of the opinion just like, man, if I do a nice mid-grade dog food, you know, I prefer a corn-based dog food just to make sure my dog gets all those extra micronutrients, and be real careful about how much protein you feed them.
Now, where do you buy your dog food from?
So the shop I go to every day for work is 45 minutes from my house, but there's a hardware store right beside it it's a place called Gus's. It's like Gus's Hardware or Gus's Home Repair or something like that. And they sell Pride. They sell Pride and all kind of other feed. And I'll tell you another thing too.
You can't find it at Tractor Supply?
The red bag is $24.99 before tax, and the black bag I pay $30.99 before tax. So and on feeding 14 dogs now, I feed a 50-pound bag a week in the winter. Right now, in January of 2024, I'm running through a 50-pound bag a week on 14 dogs, and I've got 3 dogs on my yard that I'm like, damn, I need to cut their food bag. They're fat as hell.
So they don't sell they don't sell it at Tractor Supply?
No, they don't sell it at Tractor Supply. A lot of feed and seed stores sell it. I haven't ran into like any chains, like big chains that sell it. There's a place near me called Coleman's. They sell it, but it's a more local feed and seed store. And then that place is Gus's Hardware that I buy it from. That's hometown as it gets. You know, it's a real hometown place. And like, I'll be driving to Georgia sometimes for work, and I'll be out in podunk farmland, like barely got signal, and I'll see a feed and seed store, but they got Pride. You know. I'm a big advocate for not fixing things if they're not broke. Like Pride was the very first dog food I ever bought at like 14, 15 years old. Every dog I've ever fed it to looked great, and they eat it like it's crack, dude. I mean, I know that's a terrible comparison, but like every dog I have, I can feed the dog, and then go back immediately and feed them again. They'll eat it, like they will. Like they're not hungry. Half my dogs are thick as hell, you know. Mm-hmm. But like I've never had a problem with Pride. I've never heard of Pride having a recall. Knock on wood.
Right. Well,
I want to say it's a company based out of Kentucky, and I want to say it's not like a huge operation. Like it's big enough, you know, but it's small enough to where it's like they can kind of keep their quality control in check, you know.
Right. Do you feed any supplements of any kind?
No, and I'm going to say that I really like what that Carl Burton guy said about raising the lower bar. Yes. I could not agree with that more. Like, every dog I have is quality dog, quality bred. They're all really healthy dogs. Every dog I own on my yard, my Mason dogs, my Red Boy Jocko dogs, my Jeep Red Boy dog, every dog that I have needs nothing fancy. They don't need any supplements. They don't need any expensive food. None of that. Like every dog, like I'm telling you, I could feed Karina dog chow, and every dog I have will be golden. Like my dogs can literally eat I can switch their dog food up every week, every other week. It don't bother them. Like my dogs can literally just whatever. They literally have guts of steel.
Right.
Not saying that I recommend doing that or that I do that. I just know that like that raising the lower bar conversation, man, people need to talk about that more, because if your dog needs supplements just in everyday life, I'm not okay with that. That doesn't sit well with me. But if you're working your dog for a performance-based competition, treadmill race, wall climb, lure course, something like that, and you're conditioning your dog, and your dog's, you know, lean and ripped, and you're really pushing the paces, and you might really be depleting some things in your dogs, yeah, then I could see you using supplements. But for the average person on an average day, you shouldn't have to have supplements. If you've got to have supplements in your dog on an average day, then you need to probably get them checked out. Go get a good old health check on them, you know.
I gotcha.
Because I'm really big. I'm really big on animal husbandry. If you were to ask me what's your favorite things about the dogs, honestly, it's the husbandry. Outside of working the dogs and training the dogs and going to conformation shows and the wall climb, outside of all that, my number one favorite thing about the dogs is the husbandry. I love taking care of dogs. You know, I like feeding them. I like changing their waters. I like loving on them. I like, you know, checking the chains. Just that like everyday routine, like you're my responsibility. I love you. I'm caring for you. You know, like just that, like I'm here for you every day, giving you the most love and attention and the most top-notch care that I can give you. Everything from like loving the dog to like scooping every single day, making sure they always have fresh straw in the winter, fresh dates in the summer, making sure I change their water every day, making sure they have things to chew on and keep their teeth nice and clean and their gums healthy. You know, just that like everyday maintenance and like that deworming schedule and all that, you know, like I really, really enjoy putting my love and effort into taking care of the dog, because I feel like it shows, and like I feel like when you see my dog, that's a proper representation of me as a person and how I feel about these dogs. You know, because like I don't care how badass your dog is or none of that. If your husbandry sucks, you know, then that animal is not living to his full potential. You know, like things happen. Dogs will get cuts and nicks and this, that, and the third, and chew on their tails for stupid reasons occasionally, you know, just whatever, you know. With a dog yard, you're going to see a gamut of stuff over the years, you know. But at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy the process, like even the shitty things, like having to heal a rash on a dog or the dog cut his foot on this or whatever, like, yeah, that sucks. But if you don't enjoy doing the good, the bad, and the ugly, then you don't need to be in the dogs, you know. So, like, I'm really passionate about my dogs and the care that I give them first and foremost, because if I'm going to expect all these standards out of my dogs as far as performance and athleticism and, you know, even mental stability, then I need to do everything I can to give this dog a good loving mindset. You know, I need to give this dog everything to be warm and healthy or cool in the summertime. You know, like I just need to make sure that this dog has everything he needs to be the best that he or she needs to be, you know? And I feel like if you don't do that, then you might as well get out the dogs, because everything about the dog is going to be subpar. If the husbandry is subpar, then your dog's subpar. Because if you don't take care of the dog, I mean, it's just an uphill battle, you know? And also, like, I don't judge people on hardly anything, but there's one thing I'll judge somebody on. I'll judge a damn dog man by his husbandry. Like, someone could have all the money in the world, and I see the dogs you already own, and I think your husbandry's ass, you're not getting a dog from me. I'm not going to do that to that dog. It's not that hard to properly take care of a dog. Like, I have dogs that live outside in 10x10s, 5x10s, and on proper, like, 10 and 8 foot chain setups, right? When I take my dog into public, people think they're house dogs. You know, people don't believe Kaiser lives outside. You know, I'll rotate him every now and then and bring him in my house. But dude, my dogs like to be outside. Like, they're cool with being inside, but they want to be outside, and that's the kind of dog I like. Like, when I go to Lowe's and someone says, "Oh man, this dog's so beautiful. His coat's so nice," you know, like, man, he must live inside and have a good time on the couch. And I just kind of chuckle and I say, "No, actually, this dog lives outside 24/7, 365." And they're just like, "Really?" You know, so like, I'm of the opinion to where, like, just because your dog lives outside, it shouldn't be dirty. It shouldn't be scraped up and have calluses, and like, do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? Like, if you, like, the ground in South Carolina where I live up in the upstate, the clay is rock solid, man. And if the dogs in the summertime, they'll lay out. You know, they'll lay out a lot, and it'll kind of like, sometimes it'll start to give them like a little that, you know, that elbow callus. If you see that, go out there and put aloe vera on it for a couple days or a week or so, and that won't happen. You know, so like, just like little tips and tricks that people, you know, they don't think about. And another thing too that I want to speak about real quick is sunburn. I've had 2 dogs, and they've got proper A-frames and dog houses. They got shade and everything. But I've had 2 dogs in the past 2 years in the middle of this South Carolina heat get sunburn on top of the head, right? Well, you know, so like, I wonder how many people deal with that, you know?
Right.
Like, but I tell you what, if that ever happens, aloe vera. You can leave the dog outside or bring him in, but if you're going to leave the dog outside, you need to get up, watch, because I get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning every day. So like, Cajun Baby had got sunburnt one time, right? My dog Cajun Baby. Well, I would get up at 4:45 in the morning, and I go out there and I put aloe vera on her head, and as soon as I got home from work, I'd put it on there again. So she healed up outside. You know, I just put a ton of aloe vera, and then the other dog it happened to before that, I brought her in the house and I put her in a crate and I put aloe vera on her head, and both times it took about a week to heal up. But anytime that you have any like sunburn, any like cuts, scrapes, anything on your dog, you know, like when it's healing and it's like starting to scar up a little bit, put aloe vera on it, and that hair will grow back, like, for sure. Like I've got pictures of a dog with sunburn on its head, and it literally looks like it has male pattern baldness. And then you can go look at the dog's head right now, you can tell you couldn't even tell that ever happened. You know?
Right. Sometimes I notice that dogs that prefer to be outside, or dogs that are raised outside, don't have so many of the skin issues. I think the outside environment is needed for a dog.
Yeah, dude. So like, I don't mean to cut you off, but the other day I had made a post with my puppies, and I said nothing's better for a dog than sunlight and fresh air. So the thing about that is, like, dogs are supposed to be outside. I like them in the house too, but I don't care what nobody says. If a dog can't live outside, it's not a real dog.
Right.
In my opinion, you know, like, I have inside dogs too, but I think that they should be able to live outside, and they can. I just don't make them.
Right. No, I totally agree. I think there's it's like a child or a person who played in the mud as a child, you know, that they need that for their immune system.
When I come home from work, the very first thing I do is I walk in the front door, and the house dogs, their names are Lady May and Onita. They're named after Tyler Childers songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll open the door, and I'll say, Lady May, Onita, let's go out. And they'll go out, they'll literally, do their business, and then they go sunbathe on this hill I have in my front yard. And I let them do that every day. And, the fact that, they do that, and they do that, religiously, and it's really a noticeable thing they do, that alone tells you dude, this dog knows he needs that sunshine. So keeping your dog in the AC 70 degrees, not really getting direct sunlight, it's not really the best thing for the dog long term. I'm a firm believer is if you can put your dog outside while you go to work, do it, because your dog's going to benefit from it. I think its immune system's going to be better. I don't think it's going to have skin problems, just all those things that you just said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. What's your favorite registry and why?
The APDR, which is the American Preservation Dog Registry. And the reason that one's my favorite is because it's not exactly local, but it's pretty local to me. And everybody there, especially the president, the guy and girl that own it and run it, I think Jesse Alice and Christy Crandell, they have been super kind to us, super helpful. They show us a lot of love. There's just been a lot of mutual respect, and I don't know, it's kind of the way that they've dealt with us and stuff. Just having to go through the process of learning to go to the dog shows and doing all the registration and stuff. And
mm-hmm.
so and as far as the ADBA goes, I've got a couple of ADBA dogs. I haven't really dealt with them but one time. I wasn't really happiest with the experience, but it doesn't really bother me because I ended up getting the results I was looking for. But as far as I'm concerned, I really like the APDRs. It's just a good old blue collar, normal people environment. It's it doesn't have that AKC, ADBA super elite vibe. It's more just regular people. It's more about the dogs, regular people are really nice dogs.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And
it's about if you ask me, it's about just doing positive things with them and promoting them. The APDR is the organization that does the dog show at the pig picking every year.
Mm-hmm.
Dakota and I went last year and the year before, and that is hands down. If you're going to go to a dog show, because I know you said you've never been to one. Mm-hmm. If you're going to go to a dog show, dude, it's worth it, dude. Drive to the pig picking at Mr. Garner's house, and that's a really good time. And there's a lot of good stuff for media. I mean, there's just so many people, so many vendors, so many dogs. There's the wall climb, the treadmill race. They do a sanctioned confirmation show, but they also do a bunch of fun shows, which is top producer, best black, best brindle, best buckskin. So you're gonna see all different walks of life there. All different ages. You're gonna see just a ton of dogs,
mm-hmm.
ton of dogs. And then too, the environment as far as Mr. Garner's property is really, really nice. It's really nice fescue grass. He's got a beautiful house. There's tennis courts out there. So it's not like you're going to some janky place. It's really open. It's really nice in July when you go out there. It's a little hot, but it's always nice. And just the environment, man, the environment's, it's legit, dude. It's a really good time.
Coming soon to a YouTube screen near you.
Yeah, and we'll see another thing about too, when you go to the pig picking, yeah, me, Dakota and stuff like that, but dude, you can meet other people there that you might want to interview,
Yeah, absolutely. That would be another huge perk. Now, when you have a litter on the ground, what are some of the things you do to screen your customers or where your dogs are going?
Well, first off, I would prefer them go to somebody who's owned at least some sort of powerful breed. Have you owned a pit bull? Have you owned a German Shepherd? Have you owned a boxer? If someone's owned a more real dog, what I would call a real dog, that's kind of the people. I wouldn't say these dogs are first time dog owner. If you've never owned a dog, I don't feel comfortable giving you a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Because these dogs are great. They're intelligent. and you can, they can be velvet or steel, man, like literally. And it's one of those things where if you're not experienced with it, then you're probably it's just not going to be a good fit. You're just going to get in trouble. But if it's someone that has experience with like some sort of like real dog, then I'll consider it. And then also too, like if the person wants to get the dog and think it's going to live in the house with their 5 other dogs, I'm just going to be like, no, this needs to be your only dog, or have one other dog of the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So like Kaiser, like he can be around Mary Jane. Like I can put Kaiser on a leash and Mary Jane on a leash, and I can walk them one in each hand down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's fine. I can let Kaiser and Mary Jane hang out in the front yard.
Right.
But they're brother and sister, and they're male and female, and he gets along with females, because he likes breeding. So
right.
Yeah. But like if you were to put them in a 10x10 and go to the store or go to work, you're not gonna have any dogs when you get home.
Right.
So like you couldn't just give these dogs to the average person and let them put it in the dog pen with their golden retriever when they go to work. Like it might get along with your golden retriever, while you're around, and in certain instances, but you can't just leave one of these dogs like completely unattended with another dog.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha.
Yeah, and like it's more of like they're very like same-sex aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
Very they're more same-sex aggressive. Or like the female Mason dogs will tolerate a male dog a lot more than they would a female, and then vice versa. But like I said, like if it's like little Chihuahuas and little like defenseless little like innocent little dogs, sweet dogs, none of my dogs care about those kind of dogs. You just can't really have them around like the same sex dog that has any sort of a dominant nature, because they're just not going to have that,
Right.
My dog, every dog that I've ever raised in the house has been a really good dog, but they're like needy, like they're kind of annoying and shit. Like they'll be whiny, like sometimes like when you leave they want to go on the not separation anxiety, but like they'll be whiny, or like when you put them in the crate they'll whine and stuff like that. But like when I raise my dogs outside, they all start off in the house for the first couple weeks of their life. I crate train them, house break them, and then boom, you go outside. Well, I've noticed like with my dogs that are outside, I don't, by the nature of them being outside, I don't spend as much time with them. Even though I spend a ton of time with them, I don't live with them 24/7 under my feet.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I never get mad at my outside dogs. They never frustrate me. So there's that. Like it's way easier to have a consistently positive vibe and relationship with a dog that lives outside, because they're never in your way.
Mm-hmm.
So like, but I have noticed like with the dogs that grow up outside, I bring them in the house, I put them in the crates, they're quiet. I can go drive to a different city or a different town and go to a hotel, put the dog in the crate, and then leave. They're fine. I go get some food and come back. As a matter of fact, Dakota and I went to a dog show, and we had 4 bulldogs in a hotel, right? And we got there at 1 o'clock in the morning, and the next morning we're like loading dog crates in the truck, getting ready to go to the pig picking, And the neighbor of the motel comes out, and she's like, "What time did y'all get here?" And we're like, "About 1 o'clock." And she said, "Y'all had all them dogs in there." And we had 4 full-grown, like in-shape game dogs in there. And they didn't make a peep, not one of them. But it's because, like, we spend enough time with these dogs, but these dogs live outside, too, and, like, we got jobs and stuff, too. So, like, they learn how to, like, self-soothe, And, like, as far as socialization goes, like, I used to, like, really socialize my dogs. Like, I kind of overdid it. Well, see, with my dogs living outside, I just grab them out the kennel, out the kennel or off the chain, whatever, whenever I want, and throw them in the dog box, and I just go wherever and do whatever I want. I don't think about it, and they're fine. So, like, a lot of that's genetics, and, like, good nerve. But, like, I've realized, man, like, when you keep a dog outside, I personally think you get a better dog. Like, they're not whiny, they're not needy, they're already conditioned to go to the bathroom outside, not in your house. When you do bring the outside dog in and put them in the crate, they're just happy to be around you. They're just happy to be inside, and they're content with knowing that you're right there in the room or in the other room, They can hear you, they can smell you, but I've learned that one of my younger days, I used to spend entirely too much time with my dogs, like entirely too much. Like I've had some dogs in the past. They used to think that they were supposed to be with me 24/7 because I took them everywhere, and that's an issue. Like a dog needs to learn how to be by himself. It needs to learn how to self-soothe. It should be fine on the chain and the crate. It should be fine. You know, you should be able to leave your dog's presence and it not, you know, go wild or cry, be a little baby, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And like with the outside dogs, I've noticed that like that's like a cure to that, because like when they live outside, they don't sleep in my bedroom, they don't sleep in my bed. You know, I greet them when I'm coming in and out the door from work. You know, I go on the dog yard in the back and I spend designated time with those dogs. You know, but like I also have designated time where I'm in the house sleeping, I'm in the house cooking, I'm in the house cleaning. So like my dogs that are inside the house are great dogs and they're very well, you know, behaved and stuff. But like they want their way. They have entirely too much freedom. They're loose in the house all the time. So like they want to lay where they want to lay. They want to be up under your feet. They want to, you know, when you're cooking, they want to sit there and beg for something. Or when you're eating, they want to sit there and politely beg, and you have to tell them, go on, you know. But like my outside dogs, dude, they don't have the opportunity to even learn any of those like whiny behaviors or up under your feet in your way behaviors. Hell, my outside dogs, bro, they don't even know what people food. They don't know anything about people food, like at all. Like they're not even interested in people food. So like that's kind of a perk to raising a dog outside too. The dog is an actual dog. It's a real dog. You take great care of it, but you're not spoiling it like you do when you have dogs in the house.
Right, I can see that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing. I have spoiled more dogs than probably anybody you've ever met, and I'm not doing that anymore. I made a decision to like I can't do that.
Right.
I like how I have dogs that are just like 100% like easy maintenance. Like they don't tear shit up. They're smart. They're quiet. They're not whiny. They're not gonna freak out and destroy my crate when I go to work. You know.
Right. So where can people get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me would to be just looking up on Facebook. Just look up Throwback Kennels. I actually recently changed my personal page to it said Daniel Sapp, which is my first and last name, but like I changed it to Throwback Kennels because people were hitting me up on my personal page about the dogs anyways. And then that other like little Facebook like business page I have, I don't like it. It's slow, takes forever to post. Like I just don't have the patience for that. And I was getting more like traffic on my personal page. So I took my personal page, I changed the name to Throwback Kennels. So if anybody wants to look me up, just look up Throwback Kennels. It's a picture of me with a Kaiser, you know, a black dog with crop ears. You know, I've got a tan flannel on. You know, I will sell some dogs in the future, but as of right now, like everything I have to raise it and, you know, evaluate it and all that good stuff. So.